Hey guys, just to kickstart this episode, so like I will mention over the course of this episode, I really don't like interrupting my podcasts with my coaching plugs, so I'm just gonna get it out of the way for the beginning. If you like my content, value my opinion, and you're intrigued by my methods for fat loss and muscle building, and if you're interested in working together with me, then check out the show description for all the information about how you can reach me, find me, and apply for coaching. And that's pretty much all I want to say. This is an unconventional episode, and I just really felt like for this particular one, putting in that plug in the middle of it is just really kind of weird. So with that, let's get on with the show. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode. Today I have on Geoffrey Verity Schofield. Geoff, how are you doing? And thank you for coming on.
Yeah, doing really well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so today we will have a bit of an unconventional episode. So we will talk about some YouTube drama, some controversy, coaching, YouTubing, coaching pricing, things like that. But first of all, Geoff, some of my listeners might not know who you are. So could you just give us a brief background about who you are, what you do, and things like that?
Yeah, that's sort of an open-ended question, but I sort of have only been in the fitness industry about like 3 years, I would say. Originally, I started lifting about 6 or 7 years ago, and it was just a hobby, a passion, basically. I was injured a lot when I was running, and so I just sort of switched into lifting as a sort of logical progression from that. And people started noticing I was getting results, and they were asking me lots of questions. And so, eventually I just sort of got tired of asking or answering all these questions. And so I wrote a Word document with, just a bunch of good advice. And, this Word document just kept getting longer and longer until it was legit a book. And I would just send this to people for free. Like they would say, okay, like, wow, you've been getting really good results. Like, what are your secrets? Like, how are you doing this? And, I would just sort of send them this document, mostly just because I was kind of lazy and, it's tough answering questions that you've already answered a million times. So I just would send them this for free. And then I was sort of like between jobs here in China. I was originally an English teacher, and then I was into the blockchain industry for a little while. And then I was between jobs. And I just started writing on Quora.com, mostly about fitness stuff. And that really, really took off. By now I have like 80 something million views there. So it's really, gotten pretty insane. And then I sort of started YouTube about this time last year, maybe around March of last year. And, just making videos. They were really basic at first. I mean, just me talking to the camera essentially. No editing, not really good at speaking, no polish, nothing, no flow, just sort of me walking back and forth down a road with cars in the background, just, looking back at my old content, the content was okay, but just the delivery and then, the overall production value, everything like that was really, really low, really, really bad. But, I just sort of slowly grew the channel from there. And then, I guess sort of here we are, and it's been pretty gradual. Subscribers coming in from Quora, coming in from just a few from search results and everything. And now it's up to around 20, low 20s, 21, 22, something like that.
Yeah, so 89 million views, that's pretty nuts. I actually used to write on Quora for a short while because I've heard that it's a good way of growing your following. So for a short while, I was actually quite diligent with it. I just pulled up my old account and I'm seeing 1.5 million views. That's nice. That's actually pretty good, considering that I didn't write there for almost 3 years at this point. Honestly, I stopped with that whole thing because I just found it to be a bit overwhelming, because it seemed like anything I do is almost a drop in the ocean. It was really hard to see whether it's going to amount to anything. So, sometimes I would write these really long articles with pictures and elaborate details and everything. And some of them were so good that I was like, man, I could actually use this as a standalone blog post or Facebook write-up or something. And then I would put in all that work, and then I would see that on Quora it would have like shit for views, basically, no upvotes, barely any engagement. So I just decided to focus more on YouTube. Of course, it's also hard to grow there, but there at least, when you make a video and even 50 people watch that video, then at least you can see that, okay, 50 people came here and watched my video, and then there will always be at least some comments, some likes or something. So it's at least a bit more gratifying in that sense. But then I guess you found Quora to be more gratifying than I did.
Sort of, yeah. So actually that sort of resonates with me a lot, because the Quora is a weird place because the engagement rate on the whole is pretty low. Like I've seen, posts that get 10,000 views and they have no upvotes, they have no comments, nothing. And so, and I think there's a lot of bot traffic, and the way they count views, maybe it's closer to an impression rather than a full view. My engagement rate on Quora, even though it's very, very high for Quora, it's a lot lower than it would be on Instagram or on YouTube, just because people are sort of scrolling through the site. And so they might scroll through your post and it counts as a read, as a view, but, they're not actually sort of spending a lot of time with that content. So I think it's sort of different. Plus, I'm not entirely sure. Like I throw around the 80 million views thing, but I usually don't throw it around very much because I think a lot of them are just like, maybe not necessarily fake, but it's not the same as having that number of views on a different platform, for sure. Plus, conversions are definitely not as easy as some other platforms. Like if you have, 10,000 followers on YouTube, you can legit make a living from that if you have, a very, very good fan base. But like on Quora, maybe not. Like it just doesn't convert quite as well.
Yeah, the tricky thing with Quora is that, because Quora is a really good place. I was just explaining this to someone the other day who hasn't even heard about Quora before, that it's much better than some of these earlier Q&A sites like Yahoo Answers or some of these, because even if you ask the most trivial, simple, stupid question, even then you will get at least one long, elaborated, interesting answer from someone. But the trouble is that on YouTube, for example, if you see a good video from someone, then I will at least usually go and check out their other videos. Like, okay, I like this guy. What else does he have to say?
Yeah.
That's how I came across your work, for example. I saw one of your videos and then I went on to check out your other ones. But on Quora, if I see a really good answer from someone on some question, usually I won't click on their profile and check like, oh, cool, this was a good answer. Did they answer something else as well, So, but yeah, what I wanted to ask is, when people reach out to you for coaching, for example, did you run any kind of analytics and check where the people come from? Do they mainly come from YouTube or Quora or Instagram?
Yeah, so it's... I actually do have that as one of the questions in my questionnaire. It's a 40-question questionnaire, and I think one of the last ones is like, how did you find out about my services? Like, I'm not good at marketing, but I think it's just a good thing to know where your traffic is coming from on a general basis. A year ago, it was 95% Quora or more, and it's slowly shifted to more YouTube. Because right now I just spend a lot more time and effort on YouTube. When I first started on Quora, I was writing 10 or 12 hours a day.
Holy shit.
So there was no YouTube, there was nothing else. It was just straight up fucking, I can curse, right? Yeah. 10 or 12 hours just hammering out writing per day. And then I don't write as much there anymore, and my answers, they don't have as much sort of research or, to be frank, effort put in as before, just because I'm sort of involved with a lot of other tasks, and it doesn't provide as much return as other stuff that I do. So I might write 1 or 2 answers a day, whereas before it would be like every answer was 10 times as long, and I would write 10 or 15 answers per day. So I've sort of like moved away from the platform as a whole, and thus, a lot more of my traffic comes from YouTube, and then a little bit from Instagram, but not that much. I would say it's 60 or 70% YouTube at the moment, and it'll probably go up from there.
Yeah, well, so I have to ask. This is something that we sometimes discuss on this podcast. Like, how did you not go insane from writing 10 to 12 hours a day about things that were probably fairly similar in nature? So I'm guessing you answered a bunch of questions about, like how do I grow my arms bigger? How do I lose fat? Can I eat bread on a diet? Like things like that. Like, because the tricky thing about content production is just keeping it, I guess, just not going crazy from saying the same things over and over again. And YouTube is, I guess, pretty good in that sense because like you can find different ways to make it interesting for yourself, and you can kind of find some new angles on things that you're lighting things from, and you're not answering questions, so you kind of just decide what you're gonna make a video on. But like how was that not mind numbing? Or if it was, how did you cope with that?
It wasn't really mind numbing. Like I don't know, for whatever reason, maybe it's the coffee, I don't know, but I just sort of have the ability to put out a lot of work and just focus really intently for a long time. Like if someone puts in an 8-hour work, for most people, that's like 2 hours of work a day. It's like 2 or 3 hours. Like they take breaks and they go to the bathroom and they go out and smoke, and like there's like, it's not really an 8-hour workday for a lot of people, not for everyone of course, but for a lot of people. Just from like being in the corporate world and observing a lot of people, most people, they're not like intently focused on their job most of the time. Whereas, if I'm interested in something, I'll look at a screen for 4 hours straight. Or just I'll have no problem, working as hard as possible for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, no problem. I was watching a Jordan Peterson podcast the other day. Actually, it was like a month ago. And he said something like, I get up at 8 and I work as hard and intently and as efficiently as possible until 10. And someone was like, he only works 2 hours a day?
Yeah, I saw that too. That's exactly what I wanted to say, that comment.
But I know exactly what he meant. I have a lot of respect for that, because a lot of people were like, he's 2 hours. Like, what a lazy fuck. But no, he's working like without food. Like I usually eat 1 or 2 meals a day just because I'm not hungry in the morning, and I focus better when I have like, I'm not distracted with food. And so I'll just get up and just start working. And, I'm always looking for ways to be more efficient, and I'm always looking to optimize whatever I do. And it's not just like working, it's just working to work better as well. And then also like I'm interested in everything I do. When it comes to a video or an answer or anything like that, if I'm not interested in what I'm doing, I don't do it. I don't want to waste the time on doing stuff like that I'm not really interested in. I get tons of like video suggestions or answer requests, and if it's not something where I am really interested and curious in the answer, and like I know how to answer it, or I'm actually interested in the process of finding out how to answer the question, I'm just like, no, just not for me. And so I think, as a content creator, you have to find that balance between creating content that you're interested in making, but then also in, that other people are interested in as well. Because if you only create content that you are interested in, and you're just blinded and you're sort of narcissistic and you're just really selfish with your content production, well, then no one's going to watch you, because like it'll be very clear that you're only creating content for yourself. Like if your channel, starts to be more about you and more about your life, and a lot of vlogs and a lot of, my workouts and me, look what I did, my progressions, my physique check-in, I think for a lot of people, they find that as sort of like a turnoff. On the other hand, if you start creating content only for other people, then it's easy to get burnt out, because you don't really have that passion for, you might sometimes if there's an overlap between what you want and what your audience wants, but if you're always just sort of being drawn by your audience, I think that's how a lot of YouTubers get burnt out, because they're not really interested in what they're doing. They're just doing it for views and stuff.
Yeah, man. And the tricky thing with YouTube especially is, at this point, I would say that I figured out the YouTube game. Like I understand what generates views and what makes someone blow up. So, and there's a number of ways to do it. So that's the good thing about it, at least, is that there is not only one way to crack the code. So very frequent uploads, it seems like that still works. The second option is just super high quality production. So basically turning each video into a mini movie. So like a Jeff Nippard would be a good example for that. The third option is being super entertaining. So maybe your videos are not the most informative, it's not the highest quality production, but you just have a great personality and it's very entertaining. So an example for that would be Vitruvian Physique. I'm sure you know who that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so are his videos the most informative to me? know. Like, he will never say at this point anything that I don't already know. Are his videos the highest quality? They're pretty high quality. It doesn't even come close to someone like a Jeff Nippert, but they're pretty good. But he just has a really good personality that I enjoy. You know, he has the kind of humor that I enjoy, and whenever I see him uploading a video, I usually click on it because I know that I will be entertained. And then there's, of course, the fourth option is just a lot of drama and controversy, and we know plenty of examples for that one. So there's a number of ways of cracking the code, and the funny thing is that one of the most common things I hear from people, and I'm very honored to hear that, is, dude, you deserve so many more subscribers. And you know, the funny thing is that there was a time when I used to think the same thing. So when I was struggling to get even over like 2,000 subscribers, I was kind of having the same mindset that, yeah, I do deserve more. Honestly, at this point, being at 12, 13,000 subscribers, I no longer think that. I pretty much think that I get what I deserve. I really don't think I deserve that many more subscribers because I understand the rules of YouTube. I understand the game. And I know it fully well that I'm not playing according to those rules. You know, my thumbnails are not super great. My titles are not super clickbaity. There is no drama in my videos. I think my videos are informative and I provide a lot of value, or at least I try to, but there is nothing spectacular happening in my videos. Many times there is not even stock footages, videos, images, and things like that. I just try to provide as much value with the things that I'm saying as I can, but I know that it's not the type of content that will make for hundreds of thousands of subscribers. So I think at this point, you know, 12, 13,000 subs, that's pretty much as good as it gets, and then just very, very slow, gradual growth over time. So anyway, any input on that?
No, yeah, I completely understand, and I actually completely agree. And I would say it's not a bad thing. You know, it just depends on sort of what you want. If you have a small channel, but it's like a really, really good subscriber base, I mean, things are completely different. Like, I can make a living, you know, part of it's living in China and the cost of living is low, so I can keep my prices low so everyone is happy with the prices, so demand is fine, etc. And I don't have to charge, you know, $200 for an ebook or $1,000 for a custom plan that I outsource to someone who is making $15 an hour, that kind of shit. But, you know, being a smaller channel isn't all that bad. You know, when people, you know, trolls come on my channel, they're like, you only have 20K subs, or before when I was like, you only have 3K subs or 5K subs, like that didn't really insult me because I see so many big channels that are just absolute dog shit. You know, they have, you know, 1 million plus subscribers and, you know, they sold out, or they've just, or you have these dead channels where they have multi-million subscribers and they're getting, you know, 1,000 or less views per video because they just, you know, they got a bunch of subs earlier from clickbait, whatever. And so like, I think getting views isn't that hard, but are they quality views? Are they quality people? Are you actually building a community? Are you actually sending, you know, a good message? And, you know, some people in the industry, you know, they've blown up, but they're not, I mean, they might sustain it, but they have to change the business model because growing is not the same as like sustaining a community. And yeah, I completely agree with the factors about, you know, who grows basically. And it's not a tough sort of nut to crack. The code is pretty easy. It's just, you know, have really clickbait titles, thumbnails, you know, antagonize a bunch of people. And I think that's part of the reason why some people think that, you know, me calling out bullshit is just for clout. It's just for the attention. But it's absolutely not in terms of like my primary goal. My primary goal is to call out the bullshit. Absolutely. And these people are just like, you just want attention. Like, you're just jealous of these bigger channels because they can only think in terms of subs. They can't think of it in terms of like integrity or truth or the message or anything like that. It's just views. It's just subscribers, money. I've even heard, and this is just absolutely absurd in my opinion, oh, yeah, he's doing spews for views. he's really doing clickbait, but he's just trying to get money, so it's okay. What? Like, trying to get money makes it okay, or even makes it better? And, some people were like, yeah, like this guy, he's just trying to get money, and I'll never hate on someone trying to get money. What kind of bullshit mentality is that? I mean, it's just this kind of predatory marketing. It really is ridiculous. And so, I'm getting worked up right now just talking about it. So, imagine when I open this email and it's just like, you need to buy this plan or you will fail in your diet and your training. I mean, fuck off. It's just, I don't even know where that accent came from, but it really just pisses me off. And that's why I made the video. And that's why that video has the tone that it has, because it's predatory, and it pisses me off. And it's not like, and I'm happy the video got attention, but not for me, because it reached more people. And because, Greg released this video, the YouTube video that was basically an advertisement for these $1,000 coaching plans, and he got wrecked. I don't think he got much business from that, and good, because it's a terrible cash grab. It's a really, really bad look. And so, bringing attention to that situation, I don't have any regrets for that. Even if the strike wasn't removed, I wouldn't have any regrets for that, because a strike sucks, yeah, but, if that just protects one person from flushing $1,000 down the toilet, and maybe it's a good plan, but still, it's $1,000 for a custom plan. I mean, that's just so away from industry standard that, I don't want to throw the word scam out there, but it's just like, it's clearly financially driven, and it doesn't have your best interest at heart, and there's just no way to back up that kind of price. And so, when I call that kind of stuff out, whether it's, V-Shred doing or anyone, it's really just to do a service to the community. And if my channel grows, fine. If it doesn't grow, fine. Like, I'm not financially driven anyway. And, I made enough as a teacher, and I was making $2,000 US per month as a teacher here in China. And when I started here as a teacher, I was making like closer to $1,000 per month. And, now I make significantly more than that. I work significantly more. I used to work 10 hours per week. Now I work, 70, 80 probably. And so, it's not for like to drum up demand for my coaching. It's not to, do any of that. It's really just to, I smell bullshit and I tell everyone, here, look, there's some bullshit. Don't step in it. That's what it's about, really.
Yeah. So, a couple of things. So you mentioned a lot of things that I wanted to talk about, and now I don't know which one to go with at first.
Sorry.
So the thing that you said about you not needing a lot of subscribers to have a viable business or just get a lot of value out of being a content creator, honestly, that's exactly why I'm not eager to play the YouTube game, because I fully believe in the 1,000 true fans model. So if you have 1,000 people or 2,000 people following you that are willing to, in some shape or form, give you $100 a year, whether that's in ebook sales or coaching or whatever, I mean, you basically have a viable business. So that's why I legitimately don't care if I ever reach 100,000 subs or 1,000,000 subs. I actually don't want to reach 1,000,000 subs because I don't actually want to become YouTube famous.
Yeah.
Like, YouTube famous people get into all kinds of weird shit all the time.
Yeah.
Like Greg Doucette, for example.
Yeah, he just passed 1,000,000.
Yeah. And of course, he benefits from that greatly, but I would say he's also paying the price. Like, he's involved in some new drama every week, basically. As long as you have, 10, 20,000 subscribers, something like that, you will have a relatively peaceful life as a content creator and as a business owner. There are exceptions to the rule. So a Geoff Nippard, for example, I think most people like him. There are not many people. Of course, there is the occasional one or two dickheads that are trying to tear him down. Who could those be,
Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah, but, for the most part, I think he is enjoying the peaceful, quiet life of a content creator who would only have 5 to 10,000 subscribers. Or I think an Omar Isuf is kind of in a similar category in that regard. The other thing I wanted to mention is YouTube is kind of frustrating, is that even though I said I understand the game and the rules, sometimes it's still just unpredictable. So I have videos, honestly, from 3 years ago, which I'm still to this day very proud of. So much so that like I will send it to people who reach out to me with certain questions. Like, hey, have you seen this video? I made this 2 or 3 years ago and I still think it's valid. Like, I'm actually really proud of them. And some of those videos never got over 5,000 views over the years. And just last year, I put out a video which was, honestly, I wouldn't even say it's in my top 20 best videos. The title was, "Why Are You Still Not Making Gains?" So the title was kind of clickbaity. The thumbnail was decent, sort of eye-catching, but nothing too spectacular. And that video, relative to my channel and how many views I normally get, it just blew up. Like, it reached over 12,000 views in a matter of days, which for me is a lot. My typical video views amount to something like 1 to 3, 4,000 views. And 4,000 views would be good. And so that video blew up, and it really wasn't that good. I don't even think it was one of my better videos. And then some of those that I think provide a lot of value and are really good, those just never got any traction. So yeah, I mean, that's just kind of frustrating.
Yeah, the trouble is YouTube doesn't actually have the capacity to determine what quality content is, and they probably never will. They essentially just go through the click-through rate and the watch time. That's about it, and your click-through rate is going to be thumbnail, title, and literally nothing else, because that's all you can see before you click on a video. So, and then the watch time, that might be somewhat in terms of the quality of the video, but it's also, just you could have, something that is not actually quality. It's just very watchable, like someone yelling at the camera, or if there's like drama between two people, like that'll get really good watch time. But there's no use in that besides, calling out the bullshit. But, a lot of these back and forth dramas, they're literally useless. Like, there's nothing to be gained. Occasionally one of them might try to slip in some educational stuff, but it's going to be so much less informationally dense than just informational content, because you have to deal with the bullshit, and there's like all, he said, she said kind of stuff. So, in terms of like educational content, YouTube, I'm not going to say it's bad for fitness content, because there is a lot of good stuff out there, but in terms of what the algorithm likes, quote unquote likes, it can't figure out like what is actually useful. And I think this is partly human nature. Like, the algorithm is just click through and then watch time. And so part of it is just human nature. People just click on drama stuff, and, some people, they've noticed this, and they put, people's names in 80% of their videos. So you scroll through their page, and, there's a name in 80% or perhaps 90% of their titles for a reason. And then, on the thumbnail, it'll have like pictures of people's faces, which always get more clicks. And it's just always drama based. And this can grow your channel really well. But again, it doesn't actually result in quality viewers. My viewers are amazing. Holy shit. Those people are fucking savages. Like, especially the past 3, 4, 5 days. Damn. There are some dedicated people. Like, just reading through, G-Shred's or Greg's page, he really got messed up. There's a reason why he apologized. I appreciate the apology, but I think everyone should know it was driven by the backlash. And so, I'm completely happy being 20K subs if those 20K subs are complete badasses. So it's like, yeah, like, why would you want to be bigger? Like, when people are like, you'll be 100K before the end of the year, I'm like, yeah, fine, all right, we'll see. Like, I'm really just focused on the content rather than the growth, because if you focus too much on the growth, by definition, the content goes to shit. And not every channel with over 100K is bad, but like, I don't see much of a correlation between like huge channel, good information, small channel, bad information. If anything, it's the opposite, again, with a few exceptions, notably Nippard. Like, I would say Jeff Nippard's the only channel with over 1 million subscribers where I can watch one of his videos and like expect to learn something, and expect to like have it expect it to have some kind of level of nuance where I actually find it to be educational as well as entertaining. Every other mainstream channel, they sort of like, they don't have to, but they choose to either dumb things down or like go have a bunch of infographics or that kind of thing, or just go the entertainment route. So yeah, there's just most good channels tend to fall into sort of like 500K to 100K, and then there's still like a ton of good channels that are pretty small as well. So I think it's really messed up when people are like, look at you, like you only have 20K subs. Of course you're jealous. Like, of course you're trying to grow your channel, because that's all they care about, because probably they're following, people who are obsessed with the numbers, and, therefore it's sort of by extension, they expect everyone else to be obsessed with the numbers, but that's just not the case.
Yeah, it's definitely the case that not all views and likes are created equal. So, just an easy example, all these girls and guys on Instagram who are super, super hot, they have these amazing bodies and they reach, hundreds of thousands of followers, no problem, in a heartbeat. But how useful is it in terms of actually developing a community and a customer base? That's a little bit trickier. And, like you said, I don't care about gaining new subscribers on YouTube. I want my existing subscribers to over time be kind of recycled and be turned into higher quality subscribers that are there for the right reasons. They are not there for entertainment. They are not there because I made a video where I criticized someone. They are there because they resonated with the messages that I'm trying to share, and I'm able to provide real value to them. But anyways, to kind of transition into one of our topics today. So your whole G-Shred drama. So a 60-second recap for people. You made a video criticizing one of Greg Doucette's custom plans, or a coaching plan that he gave to a client, and you gave your opinion. And then Greg copyright striked the video, even though according to the rules of YouTube, there was nothing that could be considered as plagiarizing. And you responded to that video, and then it kind of started a bit of a drama on YouTube. So first of all, is your video now back on YouTube, and is the copyright strike removed?
Yep, it's back. They were pretty fast about undoing the strike, and then I decided to blur the training plans anyway. So my main critique, a few people actually had reached out to me in the few days before the video, talking about the plans that they had from his coaching, and just their experiences on the diet, etc. And then I got this email about this $1,000 coaching, and again I was like, if it was his own coaching, not that big a deal, because I understand how insanely busy he is. Like we've exchanged words, and there's no doubt that he's a really, really busy person, and so obviously he can charge whatever he wants, and obviously he can charge whatever he wants for an outsourced plan as well. But to only drop the plan 50% and still have them be $1,000 that's not really right. And he has freedom of free markets, he can charge whatever he wants, but I have freedom of speech, and I am free to criticize that. There was actually a comment a little while ago on my YouTube on an old video where I'm talking about how I am, a little bit right-leaning politically. And he was like, well, you're against free markets. Isn't that like on the left? And I'm like, no, I said repeatedly, he can charge whatever he wants. It's just my right to criticize him for that greedy cash grab. Especially when he's outsourcing it to, other people, specifically other people. And I've seen, job wanted ads for $15 an hour remotely, which is, about minimum wage in Canada. So like, okay, you're paying people minimum wage. And it also said like no certifications, no training needed, no experience, just like an interest in health and fitness. Okay, well, you're charging $1,000, which is like 5 or 10 times what most coaches charge. And then you're just outsourcing them to some guy, basically, like who knows who. It's not even a team you assembled. We don't even know the team. If it was a team, that would still be a ridiculous price, but at least I could sort of go into the specifics of their credentials or of their experience. But it's just like no one knows this team, so how can you guarantee the quality of these? Yeah, so the plans are just ridiculously priced, no matter how you cut it. And I think even if I hadn't made the video and then he struck it, I think there would still be a significant pushback, just from like the marketing. And he has this guy who tried the plan for 2 weeks, and lost fat and like lost weight. Okay, well, 2 weeks is not really a plan. It's not like a 10-week thing or a 12-week thing or a half a year thing. That's 2 weeks. Like you can't really assess a plan in 2 weeks. And then like he was saying, like, look at the guy's happy smile. Look how happy he changed his life in 2 weeks. And then like the other half of the video was yelling at me. And oh man, the comment section was a mess. It was really brutal. And then a few hours later, he released the video saying he apologized, and I accept his apology fully. I'm one of the most forgiving people I know. Like I could get in a knife fight with someone, and then it's like they're like, "Oh, sorry, man, I cut off your arm," and I'd be like, "It's all right, no worries, man." So I accept his apology in full. It's the right thing to do, and it's not easy. Like I'm absolutely sure it was not easy to do. So yeah, it's still appreciated.
Yeah, so two things. One is the apology video of Greg. Yeah, it was a nice thing, but like I will agree with you. I have to be a bit cynical and think that the only reason he did that is because he could see the whole uprise against him sort of escalating. Like more and more people started speaking up against him. Some people with smaller channels, but I've seen one guy with like 80,000 subs also kind of making his point of like what a shitty move that was from Greg. And I think he saw that like, okay, if this continues like this and someone like more plays, more dates, with his 500,000 subs, if he starts speaking up against me, like that could really hurt me. So you know what, let's just cut it off here and make that apology video. But the interesting thing is that I looked through the comment section under his video, and like 90% of the comments were like, "Oh my God, Coach Greg, like you have so much integrity. You're so amazing for apologizing." And that just reminded me of Gladiator. I'm sure you've seen that movie, Yeah, so everybody in Gladiator at one point is a Maximus fanboy. Everybody loves Maximus the Gladiator, and everybody hates the Caesar, Commodus.
Yeah.
And then at one point, Maximus refuses to execute one of his opponents in the arena, which is what the crowd wanted. So everybody wants Maximus to kill the guy. And then the Caesar shows the thumbs down to please the crowd. And then Maximus just throws his weapon away and refuses to kill the guy. And, like that could be the moment where the crowd turns against Maximus because, like, fuck you, like we wanted you to kill the guy. But then they start cheering, Maximus the Merciful. And this whole thing kind of reminded me of that at this point, Coach Greg can just do no wrong. Like Maximus could do no wrong at that point. It's like if Coach Greg started killing puppies next week or something, but he apologized after that later on, like Coach Greg has integrity because he apologized. Like he's just untouchable.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the other thing I just kind of wanted to hear your opinion on. Like I'm just fascinated with how Greg managed to develop this incredibly loyal following for himself. Like I don't even want to call it a cult-like following because I don't want to frame it as a negative necessarily, but I've never seen it with massive channels like him. Like most channels that have a shit ton of followers, over time it's diluted, like V-Shred. Like he has over 1 million subscribers. Like, if you make a video ripping into V-Shred...
No one gives a shit.
No one gives a shit. Like, there won't be thousands of comments defending V-Shred. When someone makes a call-out video or any kind of video ripping into Greg, by far, the majority of the comments are there defending Greg. And the like to dislike ratio on those videos that are ripping into Greg is horrible. And I've seen that before with channels and personalities up to a certain size. So I have no doubt, Geoff, that if I made a video tomorrow calling you out and saying all kinds of horrible things about you, there would be a lot of people calling me out and defending you. But you have 20,000 subs,
Yeah.
So and like you said, your subscribers are amazing, but it's easier to have amazing subscribers when
you're small, yeah.
Yeah, when you're smaller. So, I mean, props to Greg. I don't think I've seen that level of commitment and loyalty in someone's following when they are that massive. So I'm just curious, what do you think is his secret? Like, how do you think he did it?
Well, First of all, he's very charismatic, and that shows in his apology. And I'm not saying his apology wasn't genuine, but at the same time, he's a lot of energy. He's I don't want to call him like a politician or anything, but he's certainly smart with how he responds to things and how he manages his community. And I don't want to throw around the word cult, even though it certainly shows a lot of signs of that, because there's a lot of people sort of in the middle, and I think this past few days shows that there's a lot of people who aren't just blind cult members. Certainly, there are a lot of people who who are, and who were like, "You don't have any proof it was Greg who struck your channel." I'm like, really? It shows copyright strike by Greg Doucette. Like, it's pretty obvious. And so there are completely blind cultish fanboys. Actually, Natural Hypertrophy did a video recently, the YouTube channel. He did a video on like fanboyism is a mental illness, and that's a big claim. But seeing it in action, just these people who they cannot see reality because they're so enamored with this individual, and to a lot of people, Greg can do no wrong, or Athlete Next can do no wrong, and these bigger channels. I think it's hard to say how much is intentional on their part, but certainly, they know what they're doing, and they know sort of the kind of community that they're building, and they see themselves being worshipped, and it sort of drives their own ego. And they say leave your ego at the door. Well, I find that kind of stuff to be absolutely ironic, and I highly encourage everyone to check the Natural Hypertrophy video, because it's just there's so much evidence for it. But there's also a lot of hope, which I think, I've never seen the community respond this way against a big YouTuber. Even the fake weights thing with Jeff Cavalier, like there wasn't really that much of a community pushback. And part of it was because, Athlete Next deleted a shitload of comments from his videos and still does, I think. But, I haven't really seen this kind of like massive uprising. And I think part of it was that it was such a clearly wrong thing to do, like the context of the strike, and then just, it's just such a David and Goliath moment, that I think, it would take like a really high degree of fanboyism to really be on Goliath's side in this event. So, I hope this shows like big channels. If you do something really messed up, like people aren't stupid. People will know, what's actually up.
Yeah, and the thing is, so my cynicism for why I think that he only apologized publicly because he could see that the uprise against him is kind of escalating is because, and I think you even mentioned this in your video where you were explaining the whole situation, that there was this girl who I think she made like a vegan version of one of Greg's recipes, and she made a video about it, and she had this small YouTube channel, and then Greg suspected that she got that recipe from this fake book which was uploaded to the web so that he can catch people that are trying to pirate his book. And then he just went on and destroyed this girl and brought a whole bunch of haters onto her YouTube channel. And this girl had this small YouTube channel, and she did nothing to harm Greg. Like, it wasn't even a critique video. She just made one of his recipes. And just the sheer aggression and like the recklessness behind the whole thing, I would say that's even more messed up.
Yeah.
Because like in your case, I'm not saying that what he was doing to you is acceptable, but at least I can see the perspective that like, okay, this guy is critiquing my work. He's not saying particularly nice things about the way that I set things up. Okay, fuck him. I'm just going to destroy him.
That's their policy. Yeah.
But this girl like didn't even critique his work. And the thing is, that girl never received a public apology because the whole thing just never got that much traction.
Yeah.
So, like, honestly, man, like, Greg at this point reminds me of Facebook or Google. It's like, we are massive and powerful. Like, we don't need nuance. Like, we don't need, like, real people, like, here actually considering that maybe we got something wrong, look into things in more depth. Like, no, we have this algorithm. You go against us in any way, like, you overstep your boundaries, you're gonna get destroyed. Like, that's how it looks like, honestly.
Yeah, he's a bully. He's a bully. In the purest sense of the word, he is a bully. You see the comments that he leaves. And if a channel is bigger than them, he'll either suck up or like he'll call them out. But if someone is smaller than him and he doesn't think there will be like repercussions, he'll bully them. They told me, they sent me an email saying their policy is if they see any IP, or even if they said if there are lies that were told, their policy is to strike the video. Which is ridiculous because any interpreted lies on their part were actually truths in reality. So when I said I didn't receive the book, that is true. That is 100% true. Now, I'm not saying it's 100% their fault. Apparently my card was flagged, and then they asked for my passport info, which I did not send because I had already made the review. So I'm not saying it's like 100% their fault at all. But it's also true that they never sent the book. And it's also true that they still have $199 of mine, which is fine because I never asked for a refund because, I just called it even. It was also a mistake on my part to assume that they sent the newsletter to 100% of people. They sent it to just like a few thousand. But, they said they don't have a capacity to have that level of coaching yet. But then 5 days later, they make a YouTube video about it, which has far more reach to the million subscribers. Did they scale up so quickly in 5 days? That doesn't make any sense at all. And so, if you assume that a newsletter goes to all the subscribers, I don't think that's really grounds for striking a video. It certainly has nothing to do with copyright. And one guy was like, this is defamation. Well, buddy, you need to go look up defamation and look how hard it is to actually, sue for defamation. None of this was defamation. Speaking your opinion on something in this context is by no means defamation. Saying like this price is too high, not defamation. Making some sick memes is not defamation. It's awesome. And so, the lies that they said I told were not lies at all. And I think this is not the first time they've done this. There's a bunch of times this has happened where, it's just that no one found out that like the video got struck, and then the small creator was like, well, I can't really, contest this in court or pay legal fees. And so they were just like, well, I guess I'll just take the strike on my channel, that kind of thing. I would say for sure that this has happened before because they said like this is our policy, and I've actually heard of other channels having this happen. At a minimum, he'll leave a very nasty comment, and so this is if you build your audience through bullying other people and through drama, you're gonna build an audience that has a lot of nasty, vicious people. And I've seen it before where like Greg called someone out. Then you go to that person's page, and often it's a smaller YouTuber, and it's just like the dislike ratio is crazy, and a lot of mean comments and like death threats and like you're an idiot or whatever. It's just at this point, it's just like is he inciting them to do this? Not really, but like it's the community and sort of the overall atmosphere of the channel it's just really bad. I don't even watch his videos anymore, for the most part, unless it's something that is like actually interesting, but it's not like I'm going to learn something from the channel. Like, what am I going to, low calorie density food, calories in, calories out, train harder than last time. That's about it. So like, there's not really much to be garnered there, past a very beginner level. So like, I don't even really bother anymore.
Yeah. So, once again, couple of bullet points. You addressed some things that I want to respond to. So the first thing is the whole fanboyness, or being a fanboy is a mental illness. I wouldn't say it's a mental illness, but I will say that it's fucking annoying. And the thing is that it exists in all spheres of the fitness industry, or any industry, I guess. So it's not just the guys like Greg Doucette who have those types of followers. It exists in the evidence-based fitness sphere just as much as on the platforms of Greg Doucette or Thomas DeLauer and all of these folks. So yeah. Mike Israetel, for instance, whom I had on the podcast a bunch of times. I like him a lot, respect him a lot. So this is like what I'm about to say has no negative connotations to him. But some of his followers are some of the worst, like, non-critically thinking fanboys ever. So when I made some videos kind of outlining my thoughts on why I don't quite agree with the ways in which they program at Renaissance periodization, so I don't do the whole set escalation going from MEV to MRV, what my theoretical and practical problems with that is, whatever. I outlined it in long form content, explained all my rationale. And, some comments were like, yeah, I agree with you. Some comments were like, no, I disagree with you, and these are my reasons. But some of those comments were just like pure regurgitation.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
this person just listened to a couple of Mike Israetel podcasts and
Yeah.
with zero critical thinking just came onto my channel and burped every single word back into my face through the screen. And I'm like these people think of themselves as evidence-based thinkers. It's like, no, you're just a fanboy. So that's one thing that I wanted to address. The other thing, going back to the whole Greg Doucette saga. So in the video where you were explaining the whole situation, Jeff Nippard left a comment on that video, and I think he put it perfectly, that if anybody has no right to be super sensitive about bullying or anything like this that goes against him on YouTube, it's freaking Greg, who built at least 50% of his entire online existence and fame and popularity and business on tearing others down. Now, there are some other great things that he did, no doubt about that. So I don't want to take that away from him. So just for some context, I actually used to be a Greg Doucette fan. I guess you could say that,
Yeah, no, me too.
When I first came across him, I saw this guy who had this odd combination of really over-the-top kind of style and way of communication, a lot of yelling and goofiness, but also a lot of really, really solid information. Like there was actually true wisdom in his videos. And not just like the basic stuff like, fasted cardio doesn't burn more fat than fat cardio. It was things that I like to talk about myself, how to stay leaner in a more sustainable way, how to use food volumetrics in a smart manner during dieting. I don't know, what's a reasonable body fat percentage for most people to maintain? Like a lot of things that he talked about. And I just saw someone who is talking about the same things that I'm passionate about myself, and he's just communicating all of that in a more entertaining way. And just to illustrate how much I liked him, when he had that debate on Omar Isuf's channel with Mike Israetel, I was actually pissed at Mike at the time because he went so hard on him, and then he just kind of acted like a jerk. And I didn't see what the need for that was. It's like, really, like you have to act like that with Greg just because in one video of his you said that you train like a pussy? Like, come on, it's really not that big of a deal. So I was a big Greg Doucette fan. At some point I stopped watching his videos simply because the screaming just became like non-tolerable to me, and that's just my own personal taste. I'm a noise sensitive person. I don't like rabidly barking dogs. I don't like honking cars. I don't like someone screaming at me. So it was just one of those unfortunate things that it's like, well, I really used to like your videos and now I sort of cannot watch them because I just cannot tolerate it anymore. But, that's whatever. That's just down to my own personal taste. But like I said, he just started losing the plot at a certain point. Like he didn't seem to notice the difference at one point between, okay, I'm going to sort of tear into this person so that I can share some good message versus just like bullying someone and tearing someone down just for the sake of tearing them down. And of course, like I'm sure that he has his own like justifications about like why all of that thing is moral and that's the right thing to do, whatever. But the point is, you built a big chunk of your following based on all of that. So if someone should be a little bit less sensitive about others kind of tearing into you and even bullying you, and potentially even you suspect some misrepresentation, like, man, you've given out a lot of punches and you should receive punches as well with a little bit more pride. So
I was also definitely disillusioned with Greg for like about this time last year. My initial video on him was quite negative, but then like, he grew on me. Like his style of content creation definitely grew on me. And I even made a video like Greg Doucette, What I Got Wrong, which now I've gone the other way again, which is outdated. So, initially I was sort of put off by his content. This was like after the Stephanie Buttermore thing where, he really, that's just no way to treat people. And then after a few months of like transiently watching his content, I actually made a video like Greg Doucette, What I Got Wrong. And, there was another few videos where like, he strawmanned Team 3D Alpha, I think they're called. Yeah, he's called. And, looking back, like, that's a video that I need to sort of maybe not take down. I don't like taking down videos if they were like what I genuinely thought at the time. But, I need to, give that a second look just because, I was biased because I was, afflicted with a little bit of fanboyism, that kind of thing. And, so he usually I'm a very good judge of character. And if, I got it wrong there, you can see why so many other people, hundreds of thousands, if not, a million people, might have also gotten it wrong. Like I should have gone with my first instinct, but, after watching his videos and like sort of being drawn in, by the positive message and the energy, etc., you don't really see how things really are until you interact with them, basically, or until a situation like this happens. So yeah, just wanted to let you know I was also sort of this time last year, especially around this time, like I was certainly, when I say like, oh, I was a Greg Doucette fan, like that's not just something I said, like it was true at one point.
Yeah, and this sort of comes back to what we talked about in the beginning, that for the screaming, for the netty or not type videos, for the call-outs, the drama, I don't love that myself. I think it's kind of a cheap way of generating views, but I don't judge him for that much alone, because Greg is someone who understood the rules of YouTube, what generates views, and he decided to play the game. Like he plays the game according to the rules. Like he looked at the analytics, saw what types of videos are doing well, and he just decided to make more of those videos. Like, Go back and look at his videos from early 2019 and then from 2018. Like, his videos are very similar to, like, yours or mine. Like,
yeah, just talking.
Yeah, he's just sitting there calmly outlining sound principles and concepts, and he was getting shit for views. And then, eventually he started screaming a little bit more. Initially, it was just kind of like intermittent bursts of screaming. It seemed like kind of a genuine thing that just comes from his personality. And he started seeing that, like the more I scream, the more views I get. Like, okay, I did this Netty or Not video. I called out Stephanie Buttermore. I'm getting a lot of views. The more of these I do, the more subscribers I get, the more money I can make. So, he's basically just playing the game. Now, I do have some ethical, kind of moral hangups about the way he's doing things and the types of videos that he's making. But I would also say that the fact that he was getting shit for views back when he was like, quote, normal, and now he blew up doing all of that, says just as much about the viewers as it does about him.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if he saw that those calm, reasonable videos where he's just sharing good information was getting millions of views, then he would be doing more of that. But that's just not what he saw. So, I mean, I think we have to call the viewers and the people watching his stuff out just as much as him, because what the fuck is wrong with you people? Like, you were giving him shit for views when he was just sharing good information, and now that he's like ripping into people, now you make him blow up. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Seriously.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's almost like a train wreck at this point. You can't look away. And, a lot of people said they were unsubscribing this past few days, but like, I'm sure a lot of people will stay subbed just to like see which way he goes. Like, is he going to keep going down this way and just like absolutely wreck the entire industry as well as himself? Or is he actually going to maybe get better and become calmer and calmer than last time, etc. And, every content creator sees what does well. Like, we all do. Like, you said you saw it. I see it. You look at my most popular videos, and probably 80 or 90% of them are about people. Like, it's a critique, or I don't do natty or nots because that's just honestly a waste of time and not interesting anyway. But they're usually just critiques or rate a fitness YouTuber, or me critiquing a plan or that kind of thing. So the vast majority of my most popular content is that kind of thing. So if you go to my page and you look at like popular videos, you probably think I'm just like a call out page. But in reality, about 80, possibly 90% of my content is just informational. I'll throw in one of those occasionally if it, comes across my path and the bullshit is extra strong. The stench it demands a video. And, I notice it does well, but I don't want to make only that content because, I don't know, like there's just something that stops me from doing that. And clearly there was nothing that stopped Greg from doing that. Like he made the choice to do almost entirely that kind of content. Like for him it's 80 to 90%, drama. It really is. And some of it's just like useless drama. If I do, quote unquote drama, it's actually like you learn something in the process as well. It's entertaining, but it's also educational. And then so it's just all content creators have a choice, and the choice is driven by the algorithm, and the algorithm is driven by the people. And if you poll people, if you have a poll on your YouTube and you're like, what kind of content do you want to see? Like informational, educational, workout videos, call out videos. Almost no one clicks call out. No one's actually going to like select, oh, I want more call out videos. But then actually when you see the click through rate and what people are actually clicking on, you understand that they're absolutely liars when it comes to what they actually voted for on the poll. So, the click-through rate doesn't lie, and that kind of content, it just does better. And some channels choose to just go down that road.
Yeah. Now, the last thing I want to discuss with you is the whole super high prices of Greg Doucette topic, because that is something that I sort of have ambivalent feelings about the backlash against that, because, like, on the one hand, like, why would anybody get worked up about the prices of someone else? Like, that's the beauty of a free market. Like, for example, sometimes I walk past the store with my girlfriend and she will just make a comment like, oh my God, that purse or that bag, it would be so great to buy it, but it costs like 3,000 euros. And I just look at it, I'm like, really? 3,000 euros? Like, holy shit, like, who would buy that? But that's about the extent of my thought process and emotions about the whole topic. Like, I don't get angry about it. I'm not thinking about it later that day that like, oh my God, these greedy people, how can they charge 3,000 for a bag? Like, there are much cheaper bags that are just as good. Like, and that's mainly because I don't care about bags. Like, I don't give a shit about how much someone else is willing to pay for something that I don't want. Now, when I was looking for gym equipment, when I was looking to put together my little home setup, when the curfews and the lockdowns hit and gyms were closed, and I saw that, okay, there is this squat rack for $500. There is this other one for $2,000. Well, it seems like the one for 500 is pretty much the same as the one for 2,000. Cool, lucky me. I'm gonna go for the 500 one. And I think pretty much the same thought process should apply for looking for a coach. Like, if you see someone like, okay, this person seems just as qualified as that person and is charging like a tenth of the price, cool, I'm gonna go for that one. Now, the people that I see most often getting worked up about the super high prices of Greg or other fitness professionals and coaches.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part, that is simply out of their own personal frustration, because in reality, they would love to do that themselves, right, but they just can't. In fact, they probably have to hustle quite a bit to charge a tenth of the price. Like, and I can sympathize with that frustration, and I understand that frustration because, I'm sure you've had this experience. You have an ebook. I used to have a course about autoregulatory eating. It's not for sale at the moment. I'm actually redoing the whole thing, but it was out there and it was a shit ton of work that went into it. Yeah. And I really believe that at the time, at least, it was the best resource out there about the whole concept of getting lean and building muscle without tracking calories. And objectively, it was worth, hundreds in terms of the actual value that I provided with that product. But, I looked at it as a minimum viable product and I put it out there for $20, it was laughably low. And I still ended up getting some refund requests. Not a lot, very few actually, but I still ended up getting some refund requests. It's like, hey, so this was like not fulfilling my hopes and I would like a full refund. And I was like almost personally insulted. Like, it really hurt, honestly. Like, really, motherfucker, like, I gave you a resource, which if you were to hire a coach or a nutritionist, like, you would have to spend hundreds, if not thousands, to get all the knowledge that I provided you with this product. And you're asking for a, quote, full refund for all your fucking $20? Like, go fuck yourself. Now, I did, of course, end up giving them the refund, but it was really frustrating. And on the other hand, seeing someone charging like 10 times as much for something, which I'm pretty sure is not providing 10 times the value. It's frustrating. And, the same thing could be said about coaching. So, I'm sure you've had this experience as well that, okay, someone signs up, it seems like the client could be a good fit. It seems like you could actually help the person reach their goals, and then you're outlining your prices. And it's whatever, 100 a month, 200 a month, nothing crazy. And then the person is like, oh, to be honest, it's a little bit steeper than I thought. I thought it was going to be more like $20 a month. I'm sure you've had experiences like that. I think most coaches had experiences like that. So, there is that. And then there is this guy who is charging 10 to 20 times what you're charging and is apparently somehow able to make that work. Of course, you have that reaction of like what the hell is wrong with the world? Like, what's wrong with people? What's wrong with me? Like, how is this fair? So, like, on a personal level, I can understand this frustration, but at the same time, I kind of have to call bullshit on these videos and critiques of like what a greedy person. How can he charge that much? Because honestly, I think most of them don't get angry because they think Greg is greedy. Like, their anger and frustration comes from a sense and feeling of unfairness towards themselves. So, like, that's my perspective on it. But I don't know. What do you think?
Well, actually, I don't mind him charging high prices. Actually, I did a video. I don't remember the exact date. It was Nick Trigelli criticizing Greg's prices. And, I came to the conclusion, like, it's him. It's his time. He can charge whatever he wants. And in general, I'm very free market. So he can charge whatever he wants, even for these custom plans that are not made by him, are just outsourced. But again, I'm free to call him out on the fact that it is much, much higher than average, and it is a very bad value for the money. And in fact, it's not bad for business because, him charging $1,000 for some, who knows where person writing it. And then I come and tell people my prices, and they're like, oh, yeah, I'll take that. Like, oh, yeah, that's completely fine. Plus, I have enough demand now anyway that if someone is like, is there a student discount? Is there an elderly discount? Like, can I pay you in 5 installments? I'm just like, yeah, no, no. If anything, like, those prices are very fair, and there are 8 people behind you in line, so sorry, like, let the other people in my inbox through. So, for me, I don't really encounter the like, your prices are too high kind of thing, probably because they're actually too low. And also because I don't need to like stimulate demand in any kind of way. Like, I don't have to over market things or market at all. Like, honestly, when I mention my coaching or plans, I brace for impact in my inbox. I'm just like, shit, I mentioned my coaching too much. There's going to be a bunch of people contacting me. I'm already busy making videos, editing videos, filming in the gym, like going to the gym, working out, writing on Quora, writing a second book, Instagram. Like, there's just responding to all comments. Like, it's just too much. And so, I actually don't mention my coaching a lot of the times. Sometimes, yeah, but, it just becomes overwhelming if I mention it too much. And now I'm kind of mentioning it too much right now. But for me, like, if his email about the coaching, if it had the prices and nothing else, I would never have made a video because it was the marketing language that I really had an issue with. And that was the majority of the video that I was, the big thing that I was really focusing on. It was on this hyper aggressive, literally V-Shred marketing. And, to their credit, they have actually changed the page that that the links go to. So the custom training plan, diet plan, etc., combined plan, they've actually changed the marketing language. They've changed they've sort of softened it, etc. And it's nice to see them change. But if they change back, I'm happy to make another video calling them out on it, or anyone else. Like, if you are a piece of shit in the fitness industry, I'm coming for you, and I'm not afraid. You can copyright strike me, see how that turns out. So I think this whole situation, I see it as an absolute win. And it's I'm going to be polite about things, and I do regret the somewhat angry tone of the video, but I don't regret making it as a whole. And it's not just the prices; it's this kind of predatory marketing, because it really is predatory. Like, telling people they're going to fail if they don't get your plan, that's really fucked up. When people are like, there's nothing unique in your book, I'm like, yeah, there's nothing unique in my book. It's what I've learned through 5, 6, 7 years of reading and lifting and you could find everything else out. It's just going to take you a few years of sifting through the bullshit to find the good stuff that I put in the book. So, for me, it's not just about the price. It's about, conducting yourself with dignity, respecting your fans, and just not being a piece of garbage who exploits the people who support them, which is not just about the price. It's about how you do it as well. And the only way that they are artificially increasing that demand to support that price point, it's not just because he is popular. It's because of this kind of hyper-aggressive marketing, and that is what I'm against. He can charge whatever he wants. But again, if it's way out of line, I'm happy to put some stick about.
Yeah, and you see that's the other thing. So the whole gimmicky marketing thing is, once again, something that I kind of have ambivalent feelings about, because none of us like seeing aggressive marketing. It's annoying for everybody to see it when someone else is doing it. And I think a lot of people who do it, they don't enjoy doing it themselves. So in an ideal world, what would happen is that people have certain needs and demands, and then there is supply. And if you're someone who is providing that service that people need, then they just find you organically and they come and buy. Now, in reality, unfortunately, if you don't let people know in some way, shape, or form that you have that supply for them, then things don't get sold. And then again, in an ideal world, the way you would let people know that you have that product is just by stating the facts. Like, hey, I have this product. If you need it, buy it. And then people come and buy. In reality, unfortunately, you will have to have some sort of compelling messaging, and you will have to use some sort of marketing strategy to make people compelled to buy. And marketing is always, if we're really being honest, is always a little bit of kind of tiptoeing this line of 100% honest messaging, stating what the product is, nothing more, nothing less, and like slightly exaggerating certain things, inducing a feeling of scarcity, emphasizing the need, like why you really need this product. And if we are being hypercritical, even in the most honest marketing message, we could find something that's kind of bullshitty.
Oh, yeah.
And again, I'm not going to name names here, and I don't need to, because I could literally name every single person who sells anything, probably including myself. But for example, a research review. It's amazingly high quality. It's fantastic value. But, I'm reading the sales page and it's like, well, you know that keeping up with the latest research is very important. If you don't do it, then you could be at risk of falling behind in your training. And I'm reading that and I go, no, I won't fucking fall behind in my training. like get the fuck out. Come on. Like, how to train, how to build muscle, like it comes down to a few simple principles that you need to understand and apply. They have been laid out for like a century now. Like 90% of these studies that are being reviewed are like, well, yeah, I mean, it's potentially an interesting finding, but, in terms of practical application, it's not going to be a game changer. So whatever, but just keep an eye on it for the future. Like, really, I'm going to fall behind in my training if I don't buy this. But I don't have an issue with them marketing in that way, because you fucking have to sell. You cannot just put it out there like, yeah, there's this research review. We look at some studies. It's interesting, but I mean, I guess you don't really need it. It won't be a game changer, but I mean, I guess if you want it, you can buy and subscribe.
That's pretty much what I do. It's like, you can buy my book, it might help, but like, you don't have to or anything. Like, don't feel pressured to buy my shit. If you like the channel, support the channel, but it's up to you, dude. That's basically what I do.
Yeah. And Geoff, I would say that unfortunately, the fact that you're able to make things work that way makes you the exception to the rule.
Yeah, definitely.
And I know people like you, they don't do, like, they hardly do any marketing, and things just grow for them organically. But for most people, it just doesn't work like that. Yeah. And I really fucking wish it did, because I really dislike, putting in an ad spot in the middle of my podcast that lets people know about the fact that I do online coaching. I really dislike it. Anytime I'm editing my podcast episodes, I'm like procrastinating over it. I'm like trying to convince myself about like why I probably shouldn't put it in here for now. But here is what happens when I don't do it. I started doing online coaching in like late 2017 or so. The extent of my marketing strategy was that I had the links for how people could reach me in my video descriptions. What that resulted in is that in late 2019, I still got DMs from people and messages.
Are you a coach?
Yeah, asking me if I do online coaching. So
Yeah, no.
I was really not marketing aggressively, so much so that people didn't even know that I have a service.
Yeah.
So marketing, unfortunately, is just something that has to be there. And up until some kind of tasteful point, the more aggressively you do it, the better it will work. So do I have a massive issue with them stating things in their sales page that like, hey, like if you don't buy this product, then, you know, you could never lose the fat and keep it off? I don't know. I mean, I would have to see it. Like maybe they really overstepped the line. But, you know, like unfortunately, you just have to market and market cleverly. Otherwise, things just, you know, they just don't get sold.
Yeah, no, there are shades of gray, you know. It's not as simple as like good and bad. It's just like a video that I personally decided to make because I felt that, you know, just according to my own situation, that was over the top. And again, that might be because I'm way on the, like, I'm not anti-marketing as a whole, but yeah, if you're super aggressive with things, you know, and part of that is again because I'm way on the other end where like I don't, you know, go through that at all, really. Like I might mention it occasionally, but you know, yeah, it's not like I'm completely against marketing, but you know, considering the backlash, I think you know, enough people were on my side where they understood my point of view and they agreed with the points that I made, and you know, they agreed that the marketing was you know, a little bit excessive, and the fact that they changed it, you know, also is pretty decent evidence that it was a little bit excessive, which I think is a good thing. Like there needs to be a balance. You can't just have like products with no labels, and you can't, you know, even use a freaking adjective to describe anything. But if you're way on the other side of like false claims and like insinuating you're never going to get results otherwise, and like just being super pushy or like false transformations. I'm not saying they did false transformations, but like I've seen false transformations. You've probably seen false transformations on other pages. Like there's just a lot of BS in the industry. And so, you know, it has to be somewhere in the middle. And, you know, I think it's important to be able to exercise your freedom of speech as an individual to, you know, criticize people that you think are over the line. And where that line is going to be different for every single person. But I think the reaction to the video, you know, I'm comfortable with what I said pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I think if every YouTuber was like you and everybody,
it'd be super boring.
no, I mean maybe for some people, but those people probably don't deserve to get a fit body anyway. Like it's you know,
Zing.
I mean honestly, like your types of videos are the ones that I like. Like I'm like from now on, if I'm looking for something to like wind down while I'm like playing FIFA on my PlayStation or something, I'm gonna put on one of your videos because like it's informative, like you're calm enough, like you're not screaming a lot, but it's also not boring. Like that's the kind of stuff I like. You know, Dave McConey, a friend of mine, like we did a lot of podcasts together. Brains and Gains is his YouTube channel. Like he doesn't do a lot of videos, but I just like listening to just smart, intelligent people laying things out in an interesting way and just sharing their views. Like that's the kind of stuff I like. And, you know, if I was a client looking for people, like I would be looking for people like that, like you, like myself, of course. So, but unfortunately, that's just not what draws the most amount of people in. But
I have to check my schedule. Let me check my timeline. I think when I hit 50K is when I sell out, and then when I hit 100K, that's when I start to scream. And then I do natty or nots from 200 to 500K, and then from 500 to 1,000, I just start calling everyone out, and that's my path to 1 million. Yeah, I have it all mapped out.
Yeah, and you see, like, okay, so we're going to wrap up in a second, but this is the last thing I will say is the sad thing for me to see always when someone grows and quote-unquote makes it is when their tone starts changing. So the reason, for example, why the screaming from Greg annoys me, like maybe if I ran the analytics, he's not even statistically screaming more than he used to. It's just that initially the screams seemed like a genuine thing that just came from his personality. Now it just has this fake element to it.
Yeah.
It's very artificial. It just very much seems like something that he just does because that's what he knows or thinks is expected of him.
Yeah.
And the same thing could be said about, like, I used to be, I wouldn't say a fan, but I did like the work of Kinobuddy, for example. Was he kind of gimmicky? Always, yes. Yeah. Was he overstating certain things like the magic of intermittent fasting? Yes. But, he was documenting his own journey. And while it was clear that he was running a business, it was still as if this is a guy who is genuinely passionate about fitness, getting lean, getting stronger, and all of these things. Whereas now, when I see a Kinobuddy video, it's fake tone. It's like, are you looking for that sexy, chiseled body?
That's a good Kinobuddy impression.
Yeah, so it's just fake tone, no real personality behind the whole thing anymore. Yeah. It's just purely business. And I can understand why he's doing that from a personal standpoint, but I still don't like it. This is no longer a guy who is passionate about fitness. This is a car salesman. Same thing with you, Geoff. Like, if you hit 50K or 100K, and I would see that your tone changed all of a sudden, so it's no longer like, okay, guys, so in this video, I'm going to talk about should you train to failure or not? But it's like, are you tired of not getting the results that you want? Well, maybe training too hard is the reason, So it would be like, fuck, this is not the Geoff that I used to like. This is no longer a real person talking to me. This is just pure businessmanship.
I'm going to do a video on like why fitness influencers sell out, because there's so many examples, and I'll have to be careful when I do that one, I think. But it happens so often. And the fact that I've gotten dozens, maybe not hundreds, but at least dozens upon dozens of messages, which are like, please don't sell out. They're like preemptively and proactively telling me not to sell out before I've shown like any indications of doing anything at all, on my videos. I'm like, as a person at all. And they're just like, I can tell they're just like absolutely terrified of losing a good source or like losing just a person that they trust in the industry. And I've heard that so many times, like, hey man, like, I hope you don't sell out, or like, don't go that way when you reach so-and-so many number of subs. And, the fact that people have that in their mind, it just shows like they've been burned. They've had that happen to them, exactly as you said, like someone was, legit and honest and, natural sounding when they were smaller. And then like, now their bio is full of affiliate links and like product placement. And it seems like it's not even product placement in the video, but the video is like placed around the product, that kind of thing. And yeah, I see it all the time. And, I don't think that's going to happen with me. I know myself pretty well, and I already have more than enough money, so it's not like that's really a driving force. And I just want to make the kind of content that I want to make, and then also helps people. And apart from that, apart from also calling out the bullshit, I don't really see any kind of need to make any other content, and certainly no need to go down the road that a lot of people have gone.
Yeah, well said, man. All right, sir. So I kept you up for the recording says an hour and a half. In reality, it was like another half an hour while we got around the recording issues. But it was great talking to you. I just really enjoyed the conversation. It was a bit unorthodox for this channel. Like, we were not talking about like training or dieting and whatever, but I hope people had a good time listening to it while they were walking or cooking or cleaning up, whatever. So, yeah, Geoff, I want to thank you for being on, sharing kind of the whole story behind, or, just talking about this whole recent drama, shed some extra light on the matter. So, just let people know, please, where they can find you, all your work, anything that you would like to mention.
Cool, yeah, my channel is Geoffrey Verity Schofield, and then Instagram is... Actually, I should probably check what my Instagram is. This is embarrassing. I should know this. It's the same thing. Yes, it also has my middle name. I should have known that beforehand. No. And then maybe you could just put it in like the show notes. And then Quora is also, Geoffrey Verity Schofield. And then website is verityfit.com, which basically only has my book and nothing else. But that's about all it needs.
Perfect. All right, sir. Well, thank you so much for being on. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.